As the nation slowly recovers from the Great Recession, many people are wondering if the American century has truly come to an end and whether the future really does belong to Asia. Just what does the next American economy look like? Well, to the author of a new book called The Next American Economy, Blueprint for a Real Recovery, the next American economy may look a bit like our region, or at least the part that's taking innovation out of our universities and putting it into the marketplace. William Holstein is the author. He's been writing about globalization and the economy for Business Week and the U.S. News & World Report, among other national publications, for the past 30 years or so. Welcome. Good to see you.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I was impressed in a book that really talks about how to reinvent the American economy that Pittsburgh, our region, really has a very prominent place.
I really like coming to Pittsburgh and writing about Pittsburgh because it is like such a laboratory of what do all Americans need to do to reinvent ourselves to compete in the world. I mean, you've taken a hell of a hit here, and you're fighting your way back. I think you made big progress, but I think that now the next phase should be opening up the valves of your idea factories, meaning Carnegie Mellon and Pitt and other idea factories, and opening up the valves on those and getting the ideas to really flow and creating the right environments or the right ecosystems where those ideas can take root. So, I mean, I think that as a result of my research, I think I've created a vocabulary and an approach to looking at what are the barriers to really creating growth. So I think you can analyze the gaps that you have in your commercialization ecosystem, and you can fix those gaps. I think it's one of the lessons of my book is that it doesn't have to happen by accident. You can rationally analyze your environment and fix it.
Well, and you profile in the book one particular sector where a lot of progress has been made, which is robotics.
Right,
I mean, I think the Wall Street Journal dubbed us Roboburg back in the 1990s.
Right.
But it's only in the last few years that it seems to be taking hold.
I think it's very exciting. I mean, here's a case where these companies you have leapfrogged what the Japanese and Koreans have. They made robots that stayed in place on a factory floor and did the same thing over and over again. The robots that are coming out of your companies are mobile. They can go into sewers and they can detect whether there are problems in sewers or water lines. They can go into the heart as a snake and go into veins in the body as a robotic snake. They can do many things that the Japanese just don't know how to do. So, I mean, this is what has to happen for not just Pittsburgh, but for the whole economy, is that we need to create new industries that leapfrog what the competition currently is doing.
But and you point out in the book, it is more, though, than having that brainiac scientist who comes up with the new widget.
Right.
It's also being able to put that person together with the person with the business acumen to figure out how to turn it into a product.
This is what's been missing in our nation for 10 or 15 years, I'd say, that the industrial commons has not been there to take the ideas out of our idea factories and commercialize them on our own soil. So liquid crystal displays were invented at Kent State University. I didn't know that. Or, of course, lasers were invented here, transistors, all these things were invented here, but many of them have tended to be commercialized in Singapore, Malaysia, Korea, because we create the ideas, but then we don't follow through to create the industries. So the jobs go elsewhere, even though there are ideas. That's the cycle that we need to break. We need to learn and remember how to take ideas and to create the industries, to create the growth, to create the jobs here.
Gee, yeah, but I look at Pittsburgh's history. If you go back in ancient history, whether it was the energy industry or transportation industries, they were created, they were commercialized, they were globalized right out of our region.
Right. Well, I mean, Pittsburgh has had obviously wave after wave of industrial dislocation to hit you, but it seems that this is a particularly difficult one because Pittsburgh is a place that has been oriented toward mass production, towards large-scale industry, and I think that the economy, the next American economy, is going to be characterized by more niche manufacturing, by more specialized manufacturing, higher value-added manufacturing. So it's a wrenching shift for Pittsburgh in terms of your psychology, in terms of your skill sets, in terms of how your institutions perform together. So it's a wrenching shift that you're still in the middle of making it. I think you can make it.
And in the book, The Next American Economy really does in a lot of ways provide a blueprint to help us get there, and I guess a lot of other regions. This is not just a regional issue, this is an American issue.
Oh, it's a universal issue, but I write about it in the American context. I've analyzed how technology is commercialized in Boston, the lithium-ion battery company A123. I looked at Orlando, Florida. They're building a simulation industry there. I looked at San Diego, where they're building a genomics industry. I also looked at Corning, where they're inventing new materials, Gorilla Glass. So I looked at these case studies and extracted the lessons from them. So that's how I built the argument in the book, is from the ground up. It's not built from a top-down policy analysis perspective. It's built from what real people are doing out there right now, trying to create wealth in our society.
No, it's a great story, very accessible, and I think a real guidepost to a lot of us in figuring out how to move forward. Bill Holstein, The Next American Economy. Thanks so much.
My
Appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Thank you.
And we'll be back in just a minute with a little dollars and cents. Stay with us.